You are now listening to Sanity at the Movies. Today we're talking about 2019's Aladdin. Hey everybody, welcome to Sanity at the Movies. Jake just got back from Aladdin with his kids.
Yep.
We'll be hearing from them in a little bit. Me and Ben. My name is Nathan Albertson. I'm your humble and obedient host. That's Ben over there. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm good, Nathan.
And Jake, of course, is Pastor Jacob Menzel. We just saw the movie yesterday.
I have a wish, Nathan.
What's that?
I wish we could do a review of it right now.
Ben, you just rubbed that lamp, because that's one of the rules. You got to be rubbing the lamp while making the wish.
And I was.
I'll make it come true.
Yes!
With a bunch of zany hijinks.
That's just normal.
That's what genies do. All right, Aladdin. Guy Ritchie's Aladdin. Somebody had the idea that we should review this movie, and so we are. And my one-sentence review is, I'm still holding out for Guy Ritchie's Return of Jafar.
It's going to be good. It's going to ramp it up.
Oh, brother.
Maybe this one will be a short one, huh? I mean, is there really that much to say about this?
I have a few things to say. I don't know, Jake, you just came from the movie. Me and Ben saw it yesterday with our respective women. You
Yep.
saw it with some kids.
I did.
We'll hear it from the kids. But
Yep.
why don't we it's very fresh in your mind right now, so we have a dynamic opportunity to hear about Aladdin from a man who literally not an hour before this was sitting in a dark theater partaking of the wonders of Arabia. How is it pronounced?
Agrabah.
Aragaba. What is
Agrabah.
it? Agrabah. More like Dragaba.
A good one.
I'm 2 for 2 today. I guess it's not much of a secret what I'm going to be saying about this movie.
Nope.
Jake, what'd you think about Guy Ritchie's Aladdin or Walt Disney's remake of Aladdin? But maybe we should do some baggage first. I'm sorry,
Sure.
guys. Let's talk about the old Aladdin. The old Aladdin, a seminal movie in our collective childhood, I think. I'm just going to say without even asking you guys, and I've heard a little bit from Jake. I don't know about from Ben, but I'm just going to say almost anybody that's in our age range, the dreaded millennials or whatever we're called. What are we? Whatever generation we are.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone for whom Aladdin wasn't a touchstone.
Yeah.
So, Ben, we'll start with you.
Except you.
Except for me? Well, we'll get to that. I think it was for me. I like to complain about it now, but we'll talk about it.
I've
Ben?
never heard you not complain about it as being completely overrated.
It is completely overrated, but did I think that when I was a kid? No way. Of course not. Ben, your thoughts on Aladdin?
Yeah, I loved it as a kid. I haven't seen it for I don't know how long.
Decades? Years? Have you seen it as an
at
adult?
least a decade. No, I don't think I have. I wonder if it would hold up. But I remember I loved it because it was a seriously good kids' adventure movie. And as a kid, I didn't count on Disney movies to be really good.
You didn't
adventure
just
movies.
love Disney movies?
No, I didn't. I tended to like them. Some of them maybe really like, but as far as like an adventure movie with a male lead who got to, run through the streets of Agrabah
And flee
and
lava.
have daring escapes and flee lava and ride on a magic carpet and fight a sorcerer and have all these cool fantasy hijinks. There's not really another Disney movie that does that thing.
No. I mean, in my childhood, I think I would have probably said my favorite was... Now I would say my favorite's Beauty and the Beast, far and beyond. But I think in my childhood, I probably would have said Lion King, which was even more seminal and iconic for me as a kid, at least. But I certainly loved Aladdin for all the same reasons. Jake?
Yeah, for me as a kid, Aladdin was I think a game changer in terms of loving Disney movies, because Beauty and the Beast was girl stuff, and so was Little Mermaid.
Exactly so.
But Aladdin was boyish and not just a princess movie. That was fun. So I don't think that there's a time up until recently where I would have said that, where I would have given any answer but Aladdin for my favorite Disney movie.
Certainly.
For that reason.
It was the one that stood out the
me
most.
too.
Yeah. I might have said Lion King just because it's more emotionally, depending on how I felt at the time. It's got that emotionally resonant moment where, dad dies
Right.
and you cry.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Dad's already done dead at the beginning of Aladdin. Actually, he's not, as we find out in Aladdin and the King of Thieves. The titular,
is that right?
the eponymous King of
That's
Thieves
right.
is in fact dear old dad.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
right.
about that. Yeah, well, that's the other thing. How many dumb made-for-TV or straight-to-video sequels of Disney films have you watched that weren't Aladdin related?
I think maybe I've seen a Lion King or two, but in my childhood, but nothing else.
I have, but we've all seen Return of Jafar and King of Thieves, right?
I remember when Return of Jafar came out, it was exciting. Like as a kid,
Yeah.
I didn't know the
Yeah.
difference between a direct-to-video. I mean, I knew I wasn't seeing it in the theater, which was weird, but I didn't clock the fact that the animation's inferior and that the voice acting's inferior.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
I
was
did.
a
I
little
felt the
older as a
difference with the
kid.
genie, but
I clocked the genie. I mean, and plus it was like a really, even a kid my age knew like it was a big deal that Robin Williams hadn't come back.
yeah.
So I did clock that. But if you watch it, I just watched a little bit of it yesterday, actually,
it's so
just for
bad.
fun. And the animation is so vastly inferior. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like, why Disney had all the resources in the world. I don't know why they didn't take care of their brand. I guess they didn't have to because the Aladdin brand
was
went really
huge.
far. It had
Yeah.
the TV show, which people liked. I never
yeah.
really watched much of the TV show,
Yeah.
but there was the
Yeah.
animated kids show. And
Aladdin was definitely the big one for me.
you see it in the theaters?
I must have.
I did.
You know, I don't know. I assume I did, but I don't have a specific memory of seeing it in the theaters. What I remember is just knowing that movie cold
Mm-hmm.
and being able to go through it beat by beat with my brother without it playing. Like, we're going to be on a car trip on
Right.
vacation, and we're going to decide to role play the movie beat by beat.
Mm-hmm.
And we could do it because we just watched it that much. And
Would you like
loved
to
it
do
that
20
much.
seconds for us now? I'm sure you still can.
I could, but no, I don't want to do that.
We didn't own Aladdin, so I couldn't do Aladdin. But Lion King, life's not fair, is it? You see, I will never be king, and you will never see the light of another day. And
you,
didn't your mother ever tell you not to play with food? Just a little tiny
Yeah.
sample from.
yeah, I could do the Lion King too. Those are the two that I could do for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that it was third grade when Aladdin was hot.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was third grade because in third grade I had a girlfriend named Nisha, and she was a pretty little Jewish girl, and we sat next to each other in class, and she said that A Whole New World was going to be our theme song at our wedding.
Huh.
And then she moved away to Hershey, Pennsylvania.
And fun fact,
The
you
following
are
year.
now married to a wasp named Amanda,
True enough.
not a Jewish girl named Nisha
No,
whatsoever.
not at all. Yeah. Yeah. And A Whole New World never played at our wedding.
Aw.
Did it not?
No,
You just
nowhere.
you had to go with "Can You Feel the Love Tonight?"
Under the Sea, I think.
Under the Sea.
There you go. That's a little more fun, at least.
Kiss the Girl might be
Yeah,
good.
Kiss the
Yeah,
Girl.
there
That's
you
what it
go.
was. So yeah, that's how I know it was third grade. Nisha was third grade.
I have a very specific memory of seeing the movie in the theater. I remember there were very few things that I did with my dad, but every once in a while, when a movie was big, he would take me to see it. And I remember that was kind of our thing. That was like the thing that we did. So there's a handful of movies that I think of as like dad-son experiences. Aladdin was one of them. Lion King wasn't. I think I saw that with my mom. Independence Day and Men in Black. And the thing that I remember about all three of those movies, Aladdin, Independence Day, and Men in Black, is sitting next to my dad and him laughing and laughing and laughing at the things that were funny, and me really clocking that and thinking that those things were funny simply because when you're a kid, you know, if some adult is laughing, you just like assume
It's
it
funny.
must be funny.
Yep.
And so Robin Williams was really funny as the genie. And then Will Smith, ironically enough, I guess, was really funny in those other two movies that I mentioned. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe not ironically. We'll talk about it, folks. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's funny. I hadn't made the connection until just now that all my childhood seminal father-son movie-going experiences involved either Aladdin or Will Smith.
Huh.
So
I remember I don't think my dad much cared for Aladdin. Actually, I don't think either of my parents did, but I loved it. I was a little older than you when I saw it, and it was far and away better than Little Mermaid, which for some reason I saw a million times in the theater, or Beauty and the Beast.
You have a sister.
I had a sister, and that's my
have a
mother's
sister?
favorite Disney movie. Just
Little
about.
Mermaid?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she just took us a bunch. Oh boy! Of course, Independence Day, when that came out, that immediately became my favorite movie.
oh, there was
Oh,
a
heck yeah.
space of years where I would have said that was my
dude.
favorite movie.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah,
and then
that
it was The
movie's so
Matrix
cool.
after that, and then I grew a little
Which
older.
should have had Will Smith in it, but
Yeah.
he was an idiot.
Yeah,
And he chose Wild Wild West.
yeah. Wow, West.
which I never even bothered to see.
I saw it.
I've never seen it.
I was caught up in the Will Smith craze enough to go see Wild Wild West.
Huh.
Did you own Willennium and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I did.
Will Smith was, I want to say, really one of the last superstars in a way that people don't really, like modern kids might not realize how big of a star Will Smith is. And I don't think there's anybody that comes close these days. I mean, who would you even say are the big stars right now? Like, who are they? I don't even know.
Robert Downey Jr.?
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, but what we have now is brands that are stars more than anything. Like Marvel is a star. You know, you will get butts in seats to see a Marvel movie, and to see Robert Downey Jr. in that specific role.
Yes.
There's no guarantee. I mean, Robert Downey
Jr. But my kids now are asking to see Sherlock
Holmes,
which they can't. Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr., but which they can't do because
which they shouldn't do. But
no.
Yeah, so Robert Downey Jr. gets a little bit of street cred.
He's going to transcend Marvel if he does anything that's remotely accessible to my kids. They're just going to want to see it.
Well, I think he's got one. You know what I mean? Like they'll go see one thing because of him, but it better be good because
or else he'll lose them.
He's not going to necessarily keep them perpetually
bouncing from movie to movie. Well, if Chris Hemsworth steals Men in Black and is awesome in that, he might be able to be something of that.
I can't say I'm that excited about his chances, but
no,
sure. I mean, that movie looks like fun.
He's charming. He doesn't have the charisma of Will Smith, but he's charming. And he's tall and good looking and whatever.
We live in a post-feminist world, and Tessa Thompson's actually getting the charismatic lead in that movie. He's like the goofy sidekick.
Yeah,
or
you're probably right.
So
she's good.
No, she's great. I like her.
Michael B. Jordan.
What about him? I mean, no. He doesn't come close to being a star of the caliber. He has some of that same charisma. I think he's a good touchstone for explaining to people how people felt about Will Smith. But in terms of just the ubiquity of love that there is, like...
Well, but you almost have to be thinking about potential at this point. Like, we haven't seen it for a while. Who's got the edge at...
Well, I just wonder if the industry hasn't changed in such a way that we actually
it's not possible.
And if the fragmentation of,
Will Smith sort of took the Denzel Washington, like he had that.
What's the Denzel Washington?
Denzel Washington was just as huge and charismatic.
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, do your kids know who Michael B. Jordan is?
They know, no. I mean, they know Creed.
But sure, they might know a couple movies, and maybe like the older ones might know who he is, but
they're not going to say, oh, that's Michael B. Jordan in the way that we would say, oh, that's Will Smith.
Right. And we all did it, and everybody did it. And you could be a homeschool kid that had never seen a Will Smith movie, which I wasn't, but I knew some of them. And
so I don't know that it's beyond the... Okay, so there are girls that Miley Cyrus...
Yeah, I think it still maybe exists in the music industry. Maybe.
Well, so no, but part of it is that Will Smith... Part of Will Smith is the Fresh Prince. You can't discount the Fresh Prince. Yeah. Like, we all... Maybe y'all didn't, but I grew up with Saved by the Bell and Fresh Prince.
Sure, of course.
In the mornings and in the afternoons coming home from school before he ever made it big. And I knew that, big as a blockbuster movie actor. Right. And I knew that he had done some rap and hip hop and stuff like that. But he had been there, for a long time and had a whole lot of opportunity to get that name recognition.
Yeah, no, he did. And I'm not saying...
you think of like those Disney stars or those Disney kids that...
we don't have to get into it, but I want to, in my brain at least, I'm arguing that pop culture is so quickly digested in the modern social media age, and it's so relatively fragmented. There's just not things that unite us. I mean, a Marvel movie comes the closest, a Game of Thrones comes the closest, but those things actually, if you look at the numbers, don't unite people the way that something like an old school celebrity used to be able to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't get TV shows that get Seinfeld numbers, for example. Everybody watched Seinfeld back in the day. I never really cared for it, but I knew it. I know the references. I know Festivus and all that crap, because there are things like that the
90s were like, that was the whole, like Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Like it was a time of icons in a way that maybe was a unique time.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of... I really think the only person that comes close these days is Taylor Swift in terms of being able to have that instant interest and gossip and name recognition, and everybody knows her. She hasn't crossed into movies, though, the way that Will Smith, the way that the true superstars did. I mean, the way that Michael...
So she has Justin Timberlake?
The way that not Michael Jordan did. Yeah, Justin Timberlake, close. but his movie career hasn't been populist, or not as much as he's done more serious roles and he's done well. But it's like your kids can't name their favorite Justin Timberlake movie.
Sure they can. Trolls, which they've never seen.
Yeah, okay, fair. I'm not a kid. Let it be said. Getting back to Aladdin, my only other baggage with it is that we actually weren't allowed to own the video cassette. My dad, video cassette, I sound like a 90-year-old man. We weren't allowed to own the video cassette for that. We didn't have it on VHS because my dad would come up with these weird spiritual principles about things, and he decided that since Aladdin was about a thief, we could not own it. And because it had probably some dark magic stuff, didn't help matters. But obviously Robin Williams was the thing that adults loved the most of all the crappy Disney movies that adults had to have playing ad nauseum in the video age, as they do to this day.
Robin Williams, Genie.
Robin Williams was the best. So I remember having kind of like I realized that my dad likes this the best, but also for whatever reason we can't actually have it. I think if I had it, I would have had it memorized the way that a lot of people did. And the fact that I didn't have it may have played into the fact that I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about it, as Jake was alluding to earlier. But I think the chip just comes from the fact that it's not actually a good story. Does anybody really want to argue with me about that? It's not. I mean, come on. Be yourself and Jafar, and like when you compare it to, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
More like,
but it's a kid's story. Like Beauty and the Beast is a story for everybody. Lion King, story for everybody. It works for kids. It works for adults. It works on different levels. It has that iconic fairy tale thing. Aladdin is a little stupid empowerment story for kids about being yourself. It doesn't have those iconic resonant themes. It doesn't have any emotion. It's got great stuff. And I admit, I would have probably said it was my favorite as a kid. I just think,
well, it's more, as we used to maybe overuse the word last night on the Lost Bookending session, it's more Homeric than the other Disney films in terms of being both an adventure story and a story where the hero, he doesn't win by sacrifice or by courage so much as cleverness.
Yeah, but then he has to learn this lame
be yourself lesson.
Saturday morning kids show lesson about being himself. People tend to get defensive, and I don't want them to. I love Aladdin. I understand why people love it. I understand why it's their favorite. I just think I can, in my brain, have two things, and it seems like for some people they can only have one, not to insult all of humanity. That's not me. But for some people, it's like either Aladdin is the greatest thing ever, and then Nathan wants to say it's got some problems. And it's like, no, it's great. I understand why kids locked onto it. That mystical, oriental, exotic feel to it was just like really potent. It was
super cool. It was beautifully animated. Robin Williams was a genius. A genius. He was a genius.
Genius, yeah.
I mean, nobody's ever done that one before.
Can we say that say it had kind of a lame story at the center? I mean, I think maybe this new movie, which took the lame story and took it seriously and tried to kind of build out on it, showed how flimsy that basics framework is.
No, it is. It was flimsy.
It was more in the execution of it that it really worked. Made it a successful adventure.
Well, Robin Williams held it all together.
Could we say this?
Bottom.
Maybe this is my contention. Aladdin is this collection of wonderful set pieces. Almost every set piece is great. It doesn't add up to an iconic, resonant fairy tale in the way that the best Disney movies do. And by the best Disney movies, I mean your Snow Whites and your Beauty and the Beasts and your Lion Kings. You know, it doesn't have a heart at the center. Really, that's it. It's just, there's no...
I mean, you could actually argue that The Lion King was pretty flimsy, too.
No, I reject that argument. I'm going to argue with you. Why is The Lion King flimsy? Let's talk about this. The Lion King is short and done for kids, but it is the story of Hamlet. It's the story of sons and fathers. It's the stories, it's got a really emotional...
So he goes away and believes that he's responsible for his father's death because he happened to be standing in a valley, and then he suddenly overcomes that at the last minute.
So he assumes great guilt through something that happened in his childhood. There's nothing that never happens to kids. There's nothing that's resonant about that.
Listen, you can play the same shtick with Aladdin or with anything. Yeah,
but can you just give me that Aladdin is less? I mean, do you have to?
Yeah.
I mean, the story isn't resonant like Lion King, is it? Do you cry during Aladdin? Do you feel any kind of...
Maybe when the genie gets set free, I do.
Okay, fine. But still, Do you cry about Aladdin or Jasmine? Do you care about them the way that you care about some of the classic Disney characters? Aladdin's just this punk that has to learn to be himself, and then he gets whatever he wants. I mean, it's not a great story. What story would you rather your kids profit from?
Well, okay, come on. Put some elbow grease into it. If you were going to sell it as a story, how would you sell it?
Aladdin? Well, Homeric may have been overstating it, but I think that I would just say it's an adventure story. It's actually in the lineage of the Arabian Nights. So and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and the stuff that happens is awesome and fun and exciting.
He's an orphan who, fatherless, motherless, grown up on the streets, just getting by, trying to be a good person, trying to have some hope in his life. Told his whole life that he's a street rat. Riffraff street rat, trying to figure out if he believes that or not about himself. The whole question is he really what everybody says he is? Is he really the trash that people call him? Or can he be better than that? Is it possible to be from trash, from garbage, from the streets, from nothing, for somebody to be able out there to look at you and love you for who you are and see past all that?
And then it has that glorious ending where he gets exposed, has his tail behind his legs, and summons the inner power to trick a wizard. Great. I mean, the Grimms couldn't have done it better, could they? I think it really, maybe that third act is actually, as you were talking, I was just like, okay. But what's the payoff? And the payoff in Aladdin is Aladdin doesn't learn much except for, I guess I shouldn't have been. It's too bad I got caught in my lie that I will repent of now that I've been caught.
But in both cases, he's intending to come out. He's got the pressure because nobody's ever been caught in a lie and then felt the pressure of trying to maintain that lie before, and then has struggles with finding a way to tell the truth and is finally going to be committed to telling the truth, and then boom, gets exposed and is ashamed and has to apologize.
Yeah, if the movie really made us feel that,
resonates with kids.
If the movie made us feel that, then made me as an adult feel that, then sure. All right, let me come back another way. Aladdin, perfect movie for kids. I'll grant you. Not as much for adults. Lion King, some of the classics, Beauty and the Beast, certainly, they work on multiple levels. Some of them, one might even argue, work better for adults than for kids. Aladdin, unless you have the nostalgia for all the stuff that you really locked onto, like he's running from lava, the little boys love, not going to be one that's so... I mean, you can't honestly look me in the eye and tell me that Aladdin connects to you emotionally as an adult the way that some of the great fairy tales, the way that Star Wars does, the way that Wizard of Oz does, the way that Harry Potter does even.
Sure.
Hey! Did you hear that, everybody? I won.
You won.
No, I mean, Jake makes a good point. He makes a good defense. What do you think, Ben?
Well, it's not as resonant. Thinking back on it, I wonder if I saw it again, what I would think of it.
Well, I have seen it.
I've been trying to see it for years.
I think, unless you are just like, I'm going to prove Nathan wrong, I think if you just go in with an open mind, what you'll find, and I have watched it in my 20s at least, and this is what I found, is it's a lot of fun. It's a great movie in terms of a great Robin Williams performance, great animation, great set pieces, all the rest. But Aladdin in and of himself isn't that interesting of a hero. His emotional problems and his catharsis and his journey, his hero's journey, isn't as compelling as your Simba or your Belle or your Ariel even.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Maybe for a 6-year-old boy it is. I mean, really, maybe, actually, I think one of Jake's best points is when Jake says, well, when you were a little kid, wouldn't you have felt bad? Yeah, actually, I do remember specific times where I was exposed in a lie and then I felt bad. And maybe Aladdin is either engineered or by luck or whatever. Maybe it is just like the perfect children's movie. What I'm less convinced of is that it's the perfect package deal, the perfect family movie, the perfect adult movie, in a way that I think the really great kids' films are. So, and I'm going to guess that 90% of our listeners will be on you guys' side, probably, or Jake's, or this is not side because we basically kind of agree, right?
Yeah.
But I'm guessing a lot of people have such an attachment to Aladdin that they're not going to want to hear.
Yeah, they remember how much
about it.
They remember how much fun it was, and it was a great ride.
Yeah, and man, which one would I rather watch today? The Aladdin or the Lion King? Aladdin. I mean, it's more fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just like
it's definitely
which one's more Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I've said on a podcast is one of the greatest movies of all time, it's Aladdin. I guess maybe if Aladdin didn't even try to have a lesson, maybe I'd like it better. Like if it really was just a Homer style series of stuff that happens to Aladdin.
It came close to feeling that way as a kid.
Yeah, it did. It did. As an adult, though, you kind of have to put up with like, be yourself and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't care about whether Aladdin learns to be himself. And the way that they resolve the whole be yourself thing is going to be so pat and quick and painless, relatively. I mean, I know his beloved gets turned into a slave to a evil wizard, and her dad gets turned into a tinker toy. Is that what happens?
Yeah, it is. But you don't. What you care about is the same thing you care about in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Is how's he going to solve this problem?
Right.
How's he going to figure it out?
He's going to have to clever his way out of it using his
street skills,
his street smarts.
Yeah. That is actually, I think that's a really good comparison. That is more what it's like. It's like
Prince Ali couldn't have saved the day, but Aladdin could.
Right.
Yes.
But if Indiana Jones was lying to Marion about who he was, and he had to learn a lesson about
be yourself,
to admit to her who he, I'm really Marion, I'm an archaeologist, and you had to put up with like even 7 minutes of that, it would diminish Raiders of the Lost Ark a little bit, I think. I mean,
sure.
You talk about Temple of Doom with that lame scene, like the bedroom farce stuff between him and Kate Capshaw, where she's like waiting for him and he's waiting for her, and she's getting ready. It's like that makes Temple of Doom worse. And I think maybe Aladdin has a little bit of that. But hey, we haven't talked about Guy Ritchie's Aladdin at all yet, except for I said more like Dragula, which was pretty hilarious. Let's face it.
We faced it.
We faced it. That was the best comeback to that. Jake, you just got out of the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe we should hear from your kids. We actually pre-recorded a little segment from your kids.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, we'll go to a segment right now where we will hear from Jake's kids. Hey everybody, welcome to a special segment of Sanity at the Movies called What Did Jake's Kids Think? And today we have 2 out of the 7. We've got Abraham Menzel. How you doing, Abe?
Good.
And we've got Geneva Menzel. How are you doing, Geneva?
Good.
So you guys just saw Aladdin. Abe, I'm going to talk to you first. Did you like Aladdin?
Yes.
What was your favorite part?
When Aladdin got the lamp.
Why was that your favorite part?
Because it was my favorite part. That's why.
Oh, okay. Geneva, what was your favorite part?
Aladdin fell down.
When Aladdin fell down?
On the carpet.
Before he went for the ride with the princess?
Yeah.
What was your second favorite part?
Girl and the boy singing the song.
A girl and the boy singing the song? Yeah, you're a girl. Are you a girl?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. What was your favorite character, Abe?
Aladdin. And my second part I didn't say yet.
Oh, what was your second part?
When the bad guy said that he wanted to be the powerfulest being in the world.
Oh, and then he turned into a genie and got trapped in the lamp?
Yeah.
Why'd you like that part so much?
Because it was very fun.
Oh, that part was funny?
Yes.
That was a laugh riot.
Interesting. You told me that was the scariest part in the car.
Yes, I did. It is the scary.
That was the scary. Did you think the movie was pretty scary?
Yes.
Did you think it was scary, Geneva?
No.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, it was. It was.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe, Geneva, are you just really brave and not scared of anything?
I don't know.
Did you think that Princess Jasmine was pretty?
Yes.
Geneva, you told me that you got scared when Aladdin fell in the water. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, so something was scary, huh?
What did you think was the funniest part? Did you think the movie was pretty funny?
No.
Did you think the movie was funny, Abe?
Yes.
What was the funniest part?
I forget.
Did you like the genie? What did you think about the genie?
That he was very cool.
What made him cool?
His powers.
Do you think that Aladdin and Jasmine should get married, Geneva?
They got kissed 2 times.
They kissed 2 times? That's true. I guess they better. Do you think they should have gotten married, Abe? Did you want them to get married?
Yes. And I knew they would too.
Oh, yeah? How'd you know?
Because I know.
How do you know?
'Cause I know, that's why.
Why?
I don't know.
You just know what's going to happen in a movie?
Some parts.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I know they love each other.
Did you think Aladdin was a good guy or a bad guy?
Good guy.
But he was a thief. He was stealing stuff. Is that good?
He was a good thief.
Oh, he was a good thief. Okay. Did you think he was a good guy or a bad guy, Geneva?
Good guy.
How come?
I don't know. 'Cause he was being nice.
What kind of things did he do that were nice?
Gave her stuff.
Give her stuff back.
Yes.
Oh, because he's the stuff that he stole from her?
The monkey stole it.
Did you think Abu was a good monkey or a bad monkey?
A good one.
Do you think you would want a monkey like Abu?
No.
Why not?
Why not? Do you think that Abu would be a lot of trouble if he were your monkey?
Yes.
Why? What would he do?
I don't know what he would do.
That's just...
Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe that's the problem, yeah.
Yeah.
He will steal stuff.
Oh. Abe, if somebody told you that you had to go into a cave to get a lamp and you couldn't touch any of the treasure, would you not touch any of the treasure?
Yes. I wouldn't.
What if it was like really looked cool and you really wanted to?
I wouldn't.
Why not?
Or I will die.
You wouldn't want to die?
Yeah.
Why not?
'Cause I wouldn't want to.
Geneva, if somebody told you to go in a cave and get a lamp and you weren't allowed to touch any of the treasure, would you not touch the treasure?
I wouldn't.
Why not?
Because it's not ours. Belongs to somebody else.
Would you like to have 3 wishes, Abe?
Yes.
What would you wish for?
To get me out of the cave. If I touched the treasure.
Sure. Geneva, what if you had a genie and he gave you 3 wishes, what would you wish for?
I wouldn't wish for 3 wishes. How many wishes would you wish for? 1,000,000.
Oh, you're not allowed to wish for more wishes. That's one of the rules. You can only have 3. So what would you wish for?
Saving me from going into the water.
What if I was a genie and I came right now and I gave you wishes and you weren't in water? What would you wish for then?
I don't know.
You could wish for a pony or $1 million or...
A pony.
Oh, okay.
I would actually wish for my third one, actually $1 million.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Geneva, do you think if you had Mr. Nathan in a bottle, would you use your third wish to set him free?
Yes.
Aw, that's nice.
That's pretty sweet of you.
Would you wish for Mr. Ben to be free if he was a genie?
No.
Oh, no.
And we're back. Now, Jake, your kids said that they liked the movies. I don't always trust kids to know exactly what they think. Were we getting the straight story there? Did they seem to be enjoying it?
They enjoyed it. They were laughing. They were engaged.
Not too scary for them.
Not too scary.
And Abe is... Did I ask them what their ages were?
I don't think you did, but Abe is 6 and Geneva's 5.
Right.
Abe, I think, had to go to the bathroom for the whole third act and managed to hold it because he was just toughing it out because he was engrossed. I think they legit just really enjoyed it. Of course, they were super excited about every single trailer.
Right.
And when you're 5 and 6 years old, being able to separate the excitement of a movie from the excitement of being at a movie during the day with your dad is a difficult thing to separate.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we won't necessarily take them.
I did think it was telling that they couldn't tell you a funny part, that they didn't think of the movie as a funny movie. Yeah. Which is the one thing that I think we as kids would have said about Aladdin. When we would have come out of the theaters with Aladdin, we would have been talking about how hilarious the genie was and repeating genie jokes.
Yeah. That's right.
So, but I do think, they legit enjoyed it. Had a good time with it.
So at least we've established that it wasn't actively off-putting to a young child.
The other thing that's telling that's just really connected to that is that I don't think that maybe a little girl would have come out and said that Jasmine was her favorite. But I think that most everybody that came out would have said that Genie was their favorite.
In the old one, you mean?
In the old one.
Yeah, the fact that they had any confusion about that, because there's certain characters that are... Well, in the classic Aladdin, obviously the genie's everyone's favorite character.
Right.
But then there's like all these cute characters. I remember a girl in school saying the Sultan was her favorite character in the old one because he was so cute and cuddly and Santa Claus-ish. Yeah,
everybody just had just that much more life or there's just a little bit more to them, to Raja, Iago, and Abu, which are harder to do. I don't want to. You can do much more with cartoon animals than you can with trying to give semi-realistic CGI ones.
Well, yeah, you can, but then I'm trying to think of an example, but skilled filmmakers have made CGI-ish fantasy creatures work well.
Star Wars is a really good example with the droids.
Well, the thing that popped into my head, droids is great, but the thing that popped into my head, which is even more archaic than that, the Wizard of Oz, anybody? The Scarecrow, the Tin Man? I mean, there's a way to do cute characters even on not a modern Hollywood budget and make them connect.
Yeah.
The fact that Abu wasn't a clear favorite with the kids, to me seems like
it's a fail.
A weird fail.
That Iago wasn't
anything.
I wonder if they would have. We should have asked if they knew the animals' names. Actually,
that would have been a good question.
That would have been a worthwhile question to ask. If they would have been able to tell, I bet they could have told you the monkey was Abu, but I question whether they could tell you that the parrot was Iago and that the tiger was Raja.
Yeah, they tried to downplay. I mean, they didn't want to make Iago as much of a character as he was in the animated movie because he was one of the main characters.
They played up Raja as being fierce so much that I thought it was a setup. Like, I was like, is Jafar going to get eaten by this tiger? I was like, what is this a setup for? Because it
was just a setup for the tale of Aladdin.
For the what of Aladdin?
The tale of Aladdin. Raja tells with Aladdin.
Because he's nice to Raja.
Raja, when Aladdin broke in, Raja liked Aladdin. And then when Aladdin was as Ali on the balcony, Raja liked him.
Right.
It was more about her beloved tiger senses the good, just like
Iago knew it was
the animals.
In the rough.
The animal of the Cave of Wonders, Iago and Raja, all sense, and Abu,
right?
Obviously, all sense that he's a diamond in the rough.
But man, it would help if Raja felt like our tiger and not just like Princess Jasmine's tiger. Like we don't get a lot of affection for Raja. But we should take a step back here and ask what you guys thought about this movie, Jake.
I enjoyed it. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't. I thought it lacked a lot of the magic that I wanted it to have. I thought the casting was good. I thought that Aladdin and Jasmine were good.
They were likable.
I don't know if you guys are going to poo-poo Will Smith's performance, but I don't know what people want from him. To live up to a cartoon, Robin Williams, who is a real-life cartoon, was an impossible ask of anybody.
I think it would be, I'll say this before giving Ben the opportunity to maybe do it, but I think it would be churlish to make fun of any of the performances. I think if there was problems, it was mostly in, screenplay misconceptions about who characters. For example, the big example for me is the guy that played Jafar was fine, but he was also just a bad idea. Like they wanted to make Jafar into the mirror of Aladdin or something like that. And that was just like, for an iconic children's kind of story
just
villain,
make him evil.
We need an evil, old, creepy, disgusting man. We need Emperor Palpatine. We don't need this like
roguishly handsome mirror street rat who rose to power,
right,
and gave in to his ambition to become something that he wasn't.
Usually the villain or the hero is like bland, and then the villain gets all the color. But in this case, it was like, I've got an idea. What if the villain was as bland as the hero? what if the villain was a mirror image of the bland, vanilla, white bread hero?
Yeah, Jafar wasn't as sinister, scary.
I just thought he was kind of a zero, and I don't blame the actor. I just blame the conception at the heart of.
I liked a lot of the ideas. I wish it was a little more Guy Ritchie'd. To be honest,
I wish it was totally Guy Ritchie.
You had these like hints of like Guy Ritchie saying, "Hey, remember that I'm the one behind this film?"
Yep.
And just like these little tiny moments of choreography with the way that kind of classic. We're gonna like slow motion or like sped up and rigid, kind of movement. Like, but it was really
very few of them.
It was such a light touch that it was like, man, Prince Ali could have been huge, in a way that it wasn't.
Oh yeah.
That whole number had all the right stuff to be a really huge, and it was still cool. I still liked it.
Yeah, but where I was just the biggest Guy Ritchie touch was on the paycheck, really. Zing! But it was what? I mean, it was One Jump had a few things.
One Jump was nice in its way.
I didn't like it, but at least it was trying for something.
I liked it. I thought Friend Like Me was
I like that actually quite a bit.
Huh.
Yeah, I liked Friend Like Me better. One Jump felt to me like it swung for the fences and kind of whiffed it. Like it was just weird.
Well, you know what? I was just sort of acclimating to. In fact, I don't know any of the actors' names. I was actually actively comparing it to adjusting to what's his name, Manuel Miranda.
Who? I don't know who you're trying to
Mary
talk about.
Poppins Returns. Lin-Manuel Miranda, whatever the guy's name is.
The guy that played the Burt role in...
The Burt role in Mary Poppins.
Oh, yeah. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, that is Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think is how you say
yeah.
that.
I was just comparing it in my mind to acclimating to him at the top of Mary Poppins Returns. There was something about it that I just liked better.
Right.
Than that, and I admit that's a low bar, but
that's pretty low bar. Yeah.
But I thought Lin-Manuel Miranda was nice. It just was a bad movie.
And Mary Poppins,
it wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
no,
he was one of the best
fault.
parts of that movie, and his little raps were become some of the only memorable things in that score. Unfortunately,
and that's a lot of what I felt about. Like I thought Aladdin was charismatic and sweet and had the right kind of boyish, roguish vibe to play off of the animated version. I liked him, and I like Jasmine, except for we have to amp everything up to 1,000 when it comes to the feminism.
Jasmine, I thought Jasmine's performance was actually pretty strong. I didn't even really mind her song that much, except for the message of it was stupid. And I
actually used that as an opportunity for a bathroom break because I knew it was going to be. I knew it wasn't going to be just a moment. I knew that they were going to give it.
You missed this fantastic imagery that really just struck a chord with me. It's where she's in her fantasy of not being speechless before she actually talks. And she's like walking past all the men in her imagination. And as she walks past them, they're all like evaporating. She walks past her dad and she's singing to him about how he's tried to keep her down kind of. And he evaporates too. And it's like, yes.
Yeah.
She's going to make her dad evaporate. Yeah,
she's not going to be silent.
And it really taps into that feeling at the heart of every fairy tale, that question, that eternal question, which is, will a woman get the employment opportunity that she wants? I mean, the Grimm brothers, Homer, really every great story comes down to that. That question.
Coming out of that song, she killed her speech though.
Oh, to
the actress,
to useless character number 47,
Hakeem or Hazim or
yeah. I liked the idea of Hakeem, but they sure didn't do much with it.
The idea of Hakeem.
Yeah, no, I liked her. I'll tell you. So I hated the movie. I thought it was, I didn't hate it. I just thought it was.
Yeah, you did. You came in last night grumpy and hating it.
Well, it wasn't like I was actively not enjoying it. I was just bored. I thought the movie was boring. And for me, that's almost a bigger sin than, like, there's very few movies where I sit there and I'm bored. Usually the act of watching a movie improves on the act of not watching a movie, because I'm just that simple of a man, I guess. This, I wasn't so sure during certain parts of it. So if it had been bad in an interesting way, if Guy Ritchie had Guy Ritchied it up and just made it into like MTV nonsense, I may have hated it, but I probably would have had fun with it. Maybe I'd be here acting even more grumpy. I can't apologize for my I can't speak for my alternate universe self. And you won't make me. But I think that this movie committed the biggest sin, which is I was just kind of bored, and I really don't like being bored. And I can only think of a couple of movies that have bored me. Noah with Russell Crowe in the theater, with sound and lights and stuff. It's usually fun, even if it's a bad movie. But Noah and the first Thor and this are just movies that I'm just like, I'm not all that interested. But I like Jasmine. I liked her. I thought her Handmaiden was pretty funny, actually. Yeah. She had some cute stuff.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, she was good.
I liked the jam scene. I actually liked the middle act with all the court shenanigans about like, will they, won't they? Is Aladdin going to prove him? Anytime the movie deviated from the animated movie and was just kind of doing its own thing, that goofy little dance scene where Genie's makes Aladdin do a cool dance. Like, yeah, I tended to perk up for those things more than.
Well, it's more like the movie at that point had its own identity, and it's like, okay, now we know what we're doing with Aladdin.
A lot of the dancing was really nice.
Yeah, the dancing
itself.
The dancing was nice.
The choreography, I actually really liked.
I liked it. I liked that last, the little post credits, or not post credits, but the credits thing was nice. I thought. Ben, your overall thoughts on the movie, since I think that's what we're still doing.
Well, I mean,
You are, of course, a Guy Ritchie defender, apologist.
Sure, totally.
You like the Sherlock Holmes Guy Ritchie movies.
I do.
Like...
I'm a pretty big fan of his King Arthur movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it didn't feel much like Guy Ritchie. What you could see is that you had someone with a lot of technical know-how able to deliver a product that he hoped Disney would be pleased by and that would draw in Disney fans.
Right.
That's what I felt.
Is there anything out there about Disney's involvement in the film? I wondered that. I wondered how much...
I wouldn't even bother looking because it's all going to be PR at this point, and Disney has a great PR machine. They're not going to, if there was any...
There's no way of knowing until 10 years from now how much they kept it from being as Guy Ritchie wanted it
Unless
to be.
Guy Ritchie decides to shoot his career in the foot and go after bite the hand that feeds him, we'll probably never know.
No, I don't think so. I hope that this will be useful in letting Guy Ritchie make movies that I want to see Guy Ritchie
frankly,
make,
I don't want to read too much between the lines here, but Guy Ritchie's had a couple disasters. He's had some movies that haven't made any
He needed
money.
a big
King
win.
Arthur being one of them.
King Arthur
is... I'm with Ben on King Arthur. I don't love it, but I enjoyed watching it. I had fun with it, and I would totally watch a sequel to it.
Well, that's actually a perfect example of the kind of bad movie that this could have been, and I would have been thoroughly entertained. I don't think King Arthur is a good King Arthur movie.
It's not a good King Arthur movie.
But it's a fun Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah.
I think it actually is a genuinely good movie on its own terms.
Yeah, I may even be able to say that. I like King Arthur, and it was pretty, it was sacrilege as far as that goes, so...
Yeah,
I can't really give my heart to it, but...
I gave my heart to it, but I'm not as much a King Arthur fan as
I'm
you.
a huge King Arthur fan, so it just felt like seeing something. So I wasn't the audience for the movie, kind of, and I'll admit that. But I liked it as far as it went. And if this movie had been that kind of movie, I think I would have liked it and been a lot more excited by it.
Well, I think that you guys are putting your finger on it when you talk about even Prince Ali, the musical number. It feels suppressed, and the whole movie feels suppressed like that to me. Yeah. It's like even in that musical number, which was well done as far as it went, good choreography.
Which one?
Good Prince Ali again. Good camera work, whatever. It's like, they talk about 60 elephants in the song, and there's like one shot where you can kind of see all these elephants back there, but they never show you this giant parade of elephants. It's like, no, we're going to keep the scale small. We'll show you ostriches, but not elephants. It's like, let's just keep this a little more small. And the whole movie was like that.
I had a similar feeling.
Well, but
that's why I didn't like the one jump number, because
it felt small.
I've never seen a movie that felt so stage bound, where I was so aware of, now we're on a set and now we have CGI backgrounds behind us.
Well, what it felt like was, to me, was less stage bound and more reality bound.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, but gross. Yeah. I mean, who wants that?
Well, but what they wanted to really do, and I think they probably politically needed to do, was repent of, first, Aladdin is pretty like
racist.
It's just racist. It's like gross stereotypes and all kinds of stuff like that. It's a fun kids movie, but there was no way to do Aladdin without trying to make it feel as authentic Middle Eastern as it could, and that's going to mean tight corridors, narrow streets, and stuff like that.
But
then trying to pack all that stuff into it.
To me, it just felt like, I think multiculturalism just ruins movies like that. I miss racism, guys. I really miss racism. Because the fun of Aladdin, like what I remember about Aladdin is I remember the movie starting as a kid, the first time I saw it, and suddenly you see flames, and you hear, yeah, da, 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 and you see this, like, the words Aladdin come up in gold, and then suddenly, night sky.
I come from a land.
I come from a land
where the caravan camels roam.
A man out here. What does he say? What's the last line of that?
It's barbaric, but hey, it's home.
But what's the last line of the song? Could fall and fall hard out there in the dunes. It's like, this is not a nice place. They're going to cut off Jasmine's hand.
Right.
There's danger at the center of this universe.
Instead, they're going to take her bracelet.
Aw, yeah.
And I, less dangerous.
I don't necessarily need snake charmers and sword swallowers, but part of the
fire
fun,
swallowers and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't necessarily need all that, but I need something like the marketplace scene. Like, let's see, like, what is a market? Let's see some people haggling. Like,
but Nathan, what you're getting into, I mean, maybe you're going to talk about this, but the movie was plagued by all of these people were vitriolic about the casting from the start,
right? And
there were tons of issues because they were, I think, weren't there reports of there were accusations that Disney was brownwashing its white cast to make them fit in on the set, And what was actually happening, I think, this is something that I should verify right now, but what was actually happening was that...
I actually know the story. They did some brown face on like some stuntmen. People
that's
that
right.
had certain technical skills that they needed to, so it wasn't like they were just brown washing random experts.
People were...
well, why don't you get stuntmen from India?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And so it was just, I'm sure that Guy Ritchie felt that on a gut level, like this could cripple me.
Well, I get that, and I get that that's what held them back, but I just think so much of what I as a kid responded to about the original movie was not the genie being funny. It was the fact that it felt like this mystical, exotic, dangerous other world, and there was just none of that. I mean,
that was so much of what was cool about it, was that it was otherworldly,
and it was strikingly
so different. It was not like, I mean, how much of every other Disney movie is just Anglo-centric?
Yeah,
right. Like,
but at least when they do Anglo stuff, they're allowed to play up what's eccentric and neat. Like when they do a modern Beauty and the Beast, we can have a big gothic, scary castle, and no one's going to say, "Are you making fun of French people for their
right?"
You know. If we can't actually do what makes the actual Arabian Nights interesting, which if you've ever read the Arabian Nights, they are weird and exotic and full of demons copulating with people
and
brutal. And so what Disney has always done so well, I think, is, I mean, Walt Disney may have been the originator of this formula. I don't know who did it before him. He has created these dangerous fairy tale worlds and then populated them with light modern comedy in the middle of it. That's the Disney formula. You have a bunch of dwarves doing goofy comedy, but the witch is
scary.
Freaking scary, right?
Yeah.
And that's the formula that George Lucas latched onto. You have this big, exotic, dangerous, scary world, and then you have some cute little droids at the center of it for kids. And that's what the Wizard of Oz is. You have a scary witch that means business, that wants to kill
and has
Dorothy.
Really awful, not very cute flying monkeys.
Right, and Dorothy kills the witch's sister, and that woman is dead because of something that Dorothy didn't really have any control over, but you don't think of it that way as a kid. And it's a scary, brutal world full of light, fun things in the center. And that's what Harry Potter did so well. That's almost the definition of great children's entertainment, I think. Certainly for me as a kid. And this movie, it was like goofy, light comedy in the center, surrounded by kind of a goofy, light, not particularly threatening world. And you just lose so much of what made the original entertaining and exciting and suspenseful and fun. I think maybe that's more than anything the failure of this movie. I mean, talk about the difference between starting with mystical Arabian music and then a dark, starry night sky with camels and a guy singing about how barbaric. And instead, we're going to start with
a daddy telling a story to his kids on a boat.
And not just a daddy, but a celebrity daddy. We're going to start with like, hey, that's Will Smith on a boat. I mean, that's what we as audiences, if we're not little kids, clock there. And okay, it's a kid's movie, and your kids didn't clock that, and that's fine. Right. That's worth noting. But I can only review the movie insofar as it affected me. And insofar as it affected me, man, I really missed that feeling of the exotic Orient. I mean, I'm sorry. I know it's not even polite for me to say the exotic Orient, but that's what I missed. I really missed it. Like the Cave of Wonders didn't feel particularly wonderful. The fact that they throw, I'll stop this rant soon, but the fact that the initial Cave of Wonders is just a little piece of the first musical number. We don't actually see the guys ride up in the middle of the night and summon the cave and it come out, and we're just supposed to...
There was no summoning of the cave.
We're just supposed to remember what was mystical about that from the old movie, I guess. Like, in and of this context, there's nothing wonderful or magical or exciting about it.
And that leads back to a more general problem. The old movie did a much better job of giving you context for stuff. Visual context, a sense of place, like what you're saying. Even with characters, it just felt like they came from somewhere, they had somewhere to be, the cave was in this specific place, the world is kind of big. Everything is just like tiny, and you happen to see the cave here, and you go by the city there, and I don't know. It's just like small.
It's too bad.
It is too bad.
And that's, I mean, I keep thinking of the scene it's the stupid special edition scene where they establish Mos Eisley in the special edition, and Luke and the guys drive by, and then you just have a bunch of shots of like guys trying to wrangle, a big dinosaur-looking thing and a robot punching another robot, and it's just like, this is life in Mos Eisley. Or let's take an even more classic example. Maybe the classic fantasy establishing scene is the Mos Eisley Cantina, right?
Yep.
He walks in, and then we hear exotic music, and we have shot after shot after shot after shot of these fun, interesting, exotic creatures drinking beer. And so there's something instantly relatable about it. It's a bar. We recognize it. And there's something instantly fantastical about it. Imagine if they'd done anything, any gesture towards that in like the scene, the one jump scene where we're in the market. If we just see this is how an Arabian market works.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have to be a bunch of racist cliches, but if we could just see something that just gave us a little of that flavor, I just think it would really help. I really missed that. It's mostly the movie was boring, but if there's one thing that I sort of resent or makes me angry about it, it's that political correctness seemed to have drained what I actually liked about the old movie, I think. I mean, did you guys get any of that feeling or that flavor?
A little, not much.
Maybe some of the snake. Jafar had his snake staff, which never hurts anything, but...
I mean, the dress, the costuming was maybe some of the best work in that direction.
The costuming was nice. The colors were nice.
So you go through, you're introduced to Agrabah close up. Aladdin has a confrontation with another street thief and ends up coming out the better for it.
Right.
So he's not getting swindled, and he's going to out-swindle the swindlers.
Yeah. It just felt...
He's going to go and trade in his stolen wares for a bag of dates that he's going to give to some kids.
Right.
He's going to rescue the princess from having her bracelet stolen.
Yeah.
For giving bread to some kids herself. And then we're just on a fun little singing chase.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I mean, it just wasn't for me. I mean, I don't mean to overstate the case, but man, I don't think a lot of people... I don't think I'm over-representing the fact that a lot of people will go see this movie and be just as bored as I was. I don't think I'm being more cynical than probably. I mean, the people that love the original more than me are probably going to feel a lot strongly against this one than I do, because ultimately, whatever. But I don't know.
I think they're going to be people that it was going to always be impossible to live up to. And then there are going to be, I think the vast majority of people are just going to be happy to have Aladdin again.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think most people won't like this movie. I think the general consensus will be that this was a swing and a miss.
Okay.
I mean, I think, like, I didn't hate it or anything. I enjoyed it all right. I think I was a little bored at times.
It's not anywhere near the Cinderella. If you just want to compare it to the remakes that they've been doing, it's not anywhere near the Cinderella. It's not anywhere near the Beauty and the Beast.
Cinderella's disappeared. Nobody cared.
Okay, well, I cared.
I did too. I really liked it, but it's not something that people talk about.
Well, they should. I mean, okay, point granted, I guess, but it was a good movie.
I agree.
I never saw it.
I loved it.
People loved
too.
the Beauty and
I
the
should
Beast,
see it,
and
I
I
guess.
basically liked it too. I mean, it definitely slammed you back into the feeling of
Beauty and the Beast
Beauty and
is
the Beast.
by far the biggest success they've had in this vein.
Well, and I would say that Jungle Book movie, I did not like it. I thought it was a failure. It was an interesting failure. Here's a guy. Here's what's his face?
This was way
John
better
Favreau?
than Jungle Book.
No, I would not say so at all. I agree 100. I disagree.
I would never want to watch Jungle Book again. I would be happy to watch this over again.
I wouldn't want to watch
kids.
either one of them again. But Jungle Book was interesting. It was an interesting failure. This was.
I don't remember a moment of that movie that I don't even remember it.
It was full
except
of
that it was
danger,
stupid.
and your kids were scared of it, and it was kind
They
of
were scared. I remember
mean,
that.
and I don't know. It was basically scary. What Jon Favreau apparently got out of the original Jungle Book and wanted to communicate was
This is a scary
scariness,
movie.
which is ridiculous.
The jungle's a scary place.
Which has nothing to do with the original Jungle Book, but it is a definable angle on the material that made the movie an interesting, edgy failure. Whereas Aladdin was just kind of bland and boring and didn't capture anything of what I liked about the original. I mean, the musical numbers were fine, I guess, but I feel like that music is so iconic that I didn't need to hear it again. Like I've continued to hear it over the years. It wasn't like rediscovering something. It was more like being at a karaoke bar and hearing someone who's
Well, a lot of that
worse.
was true of Beauty and the Beast. Like, Be Our Guest was a total flop.
Yeah, Be Our Guest was a total flop. What Beauty and the Beast did that I thought was nice is, the original movie's 80 minutes long, the new one's 2 hours, so they fill it in with these little details. And I thought Beauty and the Beast, the details weren't great, but they were at least pretty interesting. The budding romance between Beauty and the Beast was fun, them reading poetry to each other. It was like it gave those characters just a little added bit of depth. Whereas the added depth here was either light comedy which I mostly actually thought was kind of funny, or inner palace politics, which who cares? Jasmine empowerment, which who cares? / gross. And
most of it was Jasmine empowerment. That's where the color came.
Yeah, and
the whole story of Jasmine's mother, Jasmine wanting to be Sultan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I don't know what there is. Should we talk about that? I mean, I think people.
We have to.
Do we have to? Let's talk about it for 2 minutes. What was wrong with the Jasmine plot, guys? Just in case this is the first Sanity verse anything anyone's ever heard.
It's oppressive to women to make them all think that what they really want is to be at the top of every hierarchy.
But Ben, shouldn't women have the same opportunities that men have?
Jasmine was clearly the most qualified.
They're not.
She's the one who knew
fathers.
the people and loved the people and had their best interests at heart and proved herself in the critical moment to be capable of turning the people's heart and affection towards her by her sheer force of will and love and compassion,
charismatic
and
rhetoric,
integrity and
could I just take a moment to say that I really enjoyed. There's certain things that when you do them in cartoon, you don't really question the plot logic, but then you see real people do them and it becomes silly. I really enjoyed the idea that Jafar's first wish was basically, give me a hat. And then the genie gives him a hat. Right. And Jasmine's like, hey guys, this hat doesn't really change much. And the guys are like, oh yeah, it doesn't.
Well, I thought that was, I actually really liked that he leaned into that. I thought that was pretty fun.
It was fun that they leaned into it. I liked the idea of Hakeem and that whole thing. I wish Hakeem had been better developed or something. I don't know. But I thought that was...
I mean, his key moment of development came in a bit of exposition. Your father was the groundskeeper, or whatever it was.
That's right.
It was pretty dorky, but
yeah.
I still liked. I thought it was a smart move for both the politics that they're pushing and for just the stupidity of that first wish for Jasmine to turn around and say, hey, wait a minute. Hey, guys, you realize he's just wearing a hat, right? You don't have to do anything he says. It doesn't make him Sultan because he's wearing a hat.
The fact that you're even wanting to do anything he says, I'm not sure.
It's kind of stupid.
Makes any sense. The genie basically just did a fashion swap there.
Well, the reason they needed him to want to is because it was all, tradition.
Yeah.
Tradition. That's what we have to upset here. And that's what she's upsetting it's the law. He follows the law. He does the law.
That's right.
Right.
The whole thing of Jafar as Hakeem throws him in prison is like, you're going to regret this. And he's like, well, it's the law.
Which I like. I like that in Black Panther. I think that's a fun, interesting plot dynamic when done well. I question whether it was done really all that well here, but
it was done well in Black Panther.
It was done well in Black Panther, yeah.
Not so much here.
Yeah.
Black Panther, they give you a lot more sense of the force of things and
Well, and when you have Okoye, a strong female character that we really like, making, really tempted to make the wrong choice, it all gives it a lot of weight. Like, wow, these authority structures really do matter.
And the other thing is T'Challa was dead.
Right.
The choice was between order and chaos, and it was a bad order or chaos. Those were the choices. And
right. Maybe not as quite as compelling as, hey, the bad wizard guy has a hat now.
Well, it's not like the original Aladdin or this one ever give the Sultan any weight at all or any sense of the power of his office.
No, I mean, I guess you could argue that this one had a more dignified Sultan than the old one. But I always liked the old Sultan.
It did, but the old Sultan felt more of a piece with the plot.
Yeah. Am I Sultan or am I Sultan? That's one of my favorite lines. The old one.
The old one never thought to try to make Jasmine Sultan. It was, she could marry whoever she wanted and he was going to be the Sultan.
Yeah, no.
Aladdin is going to be inherit. Like, that's the drama they played with in the sequel.
The old one felt empowered for its time. I mean, Jasmine was a modern princess.
Let's be honest. It's one of the most feminist, strongly feminist of all of the old Disney movies. I mean, Little Mermaid's pretty feminist.
Yeah, but Little Mermaid is the story of, it's the age-old story of, I want to choose my own guy to submit to instead of the guy that you want me to, Dad.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing with Jasmine, except she's just a little more mouthy.
Yeah, and her tiger's
sad, and she's got her secret little cave of worship of Eric, and you know, But Jasmine's going to be like, I'm not some prize to be won.
Right.
She's going to prance around and show you how tough she is. She's going to leap on the pole, outleap Aladdin, when he tries to, be chivalrous and all that stuff. That was the old thing, which they actually downplayed in this new one. In the carpet ride in the old one, she's the aggressive one. She takes them, as soon as she gets the reins, she is doing loops and stuff like that. In both cases, they downplayed that, but they gave her, the political ambition and savvy.
Yeah. Well, I think as we talked about in our Wonder Woman review way back when, I think movies are actually much more sophisticated, and the Disney Corporation is much more sophisticated about its feminist propaganda. Because it's like, let's have a woman that basically looks like they did with Wonder Woman in a lot of ways. Let's have a woman that basically plays it as feminine and is subverting everything at the core, instead of a woman who basically plays it as masculine but isn't subverting anything, who's still going to be the prize to be won at the end of the day. But is going to, kick some people on the way there.
That's funny.
But yeah, all that stuff about Jasmine. I guess I promised people we would give them 1 minute on why the Jasmine stuff was bad. So why was the Jasmine stuff bad? Me and Jake were saying women should be allowed to...
That's right. Yeah, she was the most qualified. Very clearly the most competent. Mm-hmm. Who's in position.
Ben, are you saying that Jasmine shouldn't have been the Sultan?
That's right, Nathan.
You sexist.
I am a sexist pig.
You'd probably get a genie to put a hat on you if you could.
Yeah, I might. I'll be mayor of this town. Yes.
The sash appears on you.
Everyone will serve me.
You'll be the sheriff.
The sheriff.
You got to put on the right badge.
The right badge.
Right. Oh, man. Yep. So Jasmine can't be a father. And that's not going to change. Mm. So...
You're saying that there are actually biblical patterns that
men and women are responsible to conform to? They have to obey? Mm-hmm. They have to submit to stuff like that? Yeah.
Weird.
It's very strange.
Yeah, let me say, I said earlier I'd be happy to watch this again. Much more happy to watch it again than The Jungle Book, which is true. I would watch this again maybe with my wife on a night.
I would not, because my fiance hated it way more than I did, but...
Perhaps that plays into how you felt about it when you watched it.
No. Jake.
I have been with you at movies at certain times when you've been very impacted by
the way that you feel
you've kept.
Yeah, but I would have liked nothing more than to rub my fiance's nose in my superior cinematic knowledge, but... I think maybe.
Well, I was glad that my older daughter wasn't being fed this stuff. Mm-hmm. In this, I was glad to be there with my younger, more impressionable kids.
Yeah,
my younger kids, who a lot of the bad stuff, I think, probably sailed over their heads.
Right.
Yeah,
or is more likely to sail over their heads.
Well, your daughter's too young to even be contemplating like.
I like the Aladdin in the song where Aladdin and Jasmine sang together because it was sweet.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Like that's the level she's processing it on. My 9-year-old daughter's going to be processing on a different level.
Right. She's going to be like, hey, I can be sold.
Yeah. Maybe dad is oppressing me.
Right.
I will not be speechless.
I will not be speechless.
I will not
be speechless.
I'm going to now go home and make Alexa play this song over and over again while I get it down as deep down into my bones as I possibly can.
Well.
And man, the other thing I can't get out of my head is the fact that there was a trailer for Frozen 2 at the top of it.
We didn't have one of those last night.
You did not.
That's funny.
You didn't have a trailer for Frozen 2?
Nope. But those movies are pure subversion of...
Oh man, they're horrible.
Yeah.
They're just wicked.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't like them. And they are.
And I own them on Blu-ray.
Well, sure. Yeah. Who can blame you? I'm sure we have listeners that can, but I don't. I mean, come on, folks. We spent a lot of time talking about Will Smith at the top, so we should probably comment on his performance. What did you think about Will Smith, Ben?
I liked him quite a bit. He's not the original genie. He's different. We talked about in the theater last night how Robin Williams was a lot warmer as the genie, and Will Smith was colder, which is not intuitive.
That was interesting because I don't think of Robin Williams as being warm at all. But
right. Well, I actually realized that when I think back on stuff I loved him in, like Hook, I do think of him as warm. It's like the whole movie. All you're doing is you're waiting for the warmth to break out of him when he finally realizes who he really is.
Yeah.
It's like the coldness is the artificial put on. That's what you like about Hook as a kid, I think, is that you're waiting for the hero to come out of him.
Right.
So I guess I do, on balance, think of Robin Williams as warm in a way that Smith is not. It's weird. It's because Williams is so effusive.
Well, I always think of Robin Williams as a man that liked to play warm, sentimental characters, but was basically a pretty angry guy at the core.
I buy that. Somehow it's still. If you
just ask me, is Will Smith or Robin Williams a more warm human being?
I just felt like it was a fun inversion. Like I think that puts a finger on it. I actually feel like Will Smith's a pretty warm guy, and I think that the genie that he played was a warm guy who had a front.
Right.
And who actually really cared about Aladdin.
Yeah.
Pretty easily, found himself caring about Aladdin pretty easily, and found himself caring about everything and everyone pretty easily, no matter what his like tough, cool guy front was. It was sweet. It was
sweet. I found myself, this is a minor point, but I actually found myself wanting Will Smith's genie to be a little bit tougher. Like, let's move away from doing Robin Williams. And like the scene where Aladdin says, "I'm not gonna set you free," which is coming. When they hit that beat, it's hit so softly, and the genie cares so much about Aladdin there. It's like, I really wanted him to let Aladdin
be a
have
little
it.
angry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which Robin Williams did.
And which I think Will Smith playing that character could have actually done pretty beautifully.
Oh, there's nothing better than Will Smith when he's playing angry, disappointed, let down.
Yeah.
I trusted you.
Well, and he's gotten to the point in his career where he can do that in a fatherly sort of way that he couldn't back in the Fresh Prince days. And
that would have been nice.
I wish that they'd lean into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
he brought that, like, I thought he brought emotion at a couple key places. And when he was set free, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. He was good. He was a success. I didn't have any problem with the blueness. I know the internet was complaining about the way he looked. I didn't care about that.
Well, they were complaining about the lack of blueness because at first,
I don't know what they were complaining about, but whatever.
The first shots were not blue. They were like, "What? He's not going to be blue?"
I was glad that they mostly just had him be Will Smith, like in disguise. He was disguised as normal Will Smith. I was glad that we didn't have to actually put up with genie special effects the whole time. I thought it was the right mix of that kind of stuff. And the one thing I'll say about Will Smith, I thought he was the most karaoke sounding of the people to take on the classic songs, and that was too bad. Like Arabian Nights sounded a little auto-tune, a little weak.
Well, auto-tune I was wondering about auto-tune. I wasn't quite sure.
And
just the fact that I was wondering, and even the fact, like, even if he nailed it, because it's Will Smith and he's not known as a singer, like, it puts it in your mind to wonder.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way that, the other two, Aladdin and Jasmine, were great singers.
Well, and Will Smith just has a light baritone, I guess is what you'd call it. And I wish it was a little bit deeper and throatier.
Anything that just gave you that much more oomph.
Arabian Night. You want a little bit of that.
Well, yeah, and there was you felt like that indecision, like a lack of commitment or will or ability. Or
I thought probably his best number was, I don't know, I want to say Prince Ali.
It was Prince Ali.
Yeah, because that played to Will Smith's strengths as just a good showman. But I wish they'd let him wrap it up a little bit more for his numbers. And
the credits thing was cool.
That put a big smile on my face. Took me back to all those dumb 90s movies where Will Smith would have
Wild
this little
Wild
song
West.
Yeah, Wicka Wicka Wild Wild West.
We Jim West,
are the Men in
Desperado.
Black, Galaxy Defenders. So
yeah, I wish they would have just reimagined at least the reason you said you really like Friend Like Me. That was the one that I was really hoping was completely reimagined and Will Smithed up.
Yeah, and it really was
turned into hip hop, rap, whatever, just like made complete. Because that's the moment. Like, that's when, like, as a kid, you're watching Aladdin and it's like, Arabian Nights and all that stuff, and it's exotic and whatever, and you have no idea what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes out of the lamp and it's, "Oi, 10,000 years in a cave of wonders out of,
you're such a crick in the neck."
Yeah. And then he just and then it goes into this big, huge the most Robin Williams-y of Robin Williams-y numbers. And it's just like set such a tone for the rest of the movie. And this is magical, right?
Yep.
And so in thinking about it, and I hadn't put a lot of thought into it, and maybe I'm more thinking about why I intuited this, it's kind of not clear what I thought beforehand or not, because I just hadn't put a lot of thought into it. But I think what I expected and what I wanted was when he came out of that lamp, I wanted the most Will Smith of Will Smith. I wanted it to be the Wild Wild West music video or the Men in Black music video.
Right.
Like that sold those movies as part of the Will Smith package. I wanted it to just like lean into that and be Guy Ritchie and 90s music video and rap and hip hop and just like
I agree 100%.
Will Smith is the genie here, not Robin Williams. I wanted it to say that. And then I wanted it to have some homages to Robin Williams and then be a little bit more Robin Williams-y later. That was all cool. I wanted Prince Ali to go full Bollywood.
Yep.
But
there are certain places where you need to take those risks to just say, hey, we're not the old movie. You can still watch the old movie.
Yeah.
But this is our version now.
Yeah. And so it may be that actually you're right and Friend Like Me was the best number, but
it didn't do what you're talking about.
It didn't do what I wanted it to, so it fell flat. It fell flat, so it was the most disappointing number for me.
Well, like you were saying, it absolutely just like throws the gauntlet down in the original. It's just like, oh, this is what kind of a movie it is.
Yeah.
You didn't know that. You thought you were watching a different movie. But hey, you're going to watch this kind of movie and you're going to enjoy it.
Yep. We are all of us are all in on this kind of movie.
This is
we bought Robin Williams and we wrote a part for him.
Right.
And this is a Robin Williams movie doing all the things that Robin Williams can't do on a camera.
And we are going to have a literal applause sign going zzz, 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 at the end of this number. It really needed to, I think, for the sake of the movie. It really needed to just establish itself. It just needed to like say, this is the Will Smith of it all.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they tried to split the difference. And that's the one thing you can't do. You can maybe try and replicate, but it was the same problem even in the Beauty and the Beast movie, which I generally liked, is Be Our Guest. Like, you just can't replicate what was so magical about the original. So you got to find something else.
I really want to go back and rewatch the original, but I thought the romance of A Whole New World was lacking.
Well, what I missed was
the setup for it just wasn't there.
Yeah, the leads. I thought the leads were both very likable in this. Not a ton of chemistry.
Not a lot of. I agree. I've been maybe a little hyperbolic in my praise of them, but
they were thoroughly likable. I will agree. But
I thought that they were likable people. Yeah.
And she was sincerely charismatic and beautiful. He was a little bit more vanilla, I thought. Like, maybe if he'd come up to her level, we could have had a romance that really would have connected. I don't know. That's just a theory off the top of my head. But what I missed, there are certain things when you watch something like this, you suddenly realize how iconic certain things from the old one were that you never would have thought of as being iconic. So for me, like, flying past the pyramids.
Oh yeah.
And the guy chips the thing off of the Sphinx.
The Sphinx's nose. Yeah.
I didn't need that, but I needed their version of that. I needed them to fly past their own eighth wonder of the world kind of thing.
I liked the scene, actually. I thought it was a good scene.
I thought it was fine, but it just didn't hit those heights for me.
It was like less that I think that's the scene itself could have been fine, but I just didn't like, there wasn't enough of chemistry, enough of like
the
potential.
Setup wasn't there.
The setup really wasn't there to have me really buy it. And they tried, like the whole dance number, they tried. Like, she gave some looks that made you think she wasn't totally annoyed with him, that maybe she thought it was kind of cute or impressive, but was a little over but they just didn't quite.
Well, I'll never forget reading somewhere, I think it was Lawrence Kasdan, the guy that directed Empire Strikes Back. He said...
He wrote it, he didn't. Irving Kershner.
No, I'm sorry. Irving Kershner directed Empire Strikes Back. It was either him or George Lucas talking about the famous kiss. I like bad men, the kiss between Leia and Han. And this isn't necessarily the nicest thing for them to have said, but it rings true for me, which is they said, we can't do a sex scene in this movie. This is a kid's movie. And so what you have to understand is that this kiss is our sex scene. It has to have all of those emotions and it has to be like the seal the deal moment. You have to do that. And you are, in a kid's story, you are constantly, I don't want to be too Freudian or too psychosexual about this whole thing, but you are constantly working through metaphor to get at larger realities about relationships and about people and about how life works. And so you have to make those things connect in a way that works and has potency. And unfortunately, they didn't quite do it there. But it was fine. I mean, it was a highlight, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. I like that song. It's nice to be sitting in a theater with your fiance and hearing that song after 20 years, or whenever the original came out, So it sort of worked despite itself, whether they actually did a good job on it or not. It's like one of those things that's kind of hard to miss at, I guess. Any more thoughts about this thing, guys? Anything else worth saying about it?
I'm just looking forward to our next show when we review Jake Gyllenhaal's Prince of Persia. Oh, yeah, coming right up. Another movie about a parkour-loving Arabian kind of dude who deals with magic shenanigans and wins the heart of a princess.
With a hero that's not just white bread on the inside. He's white bread on the outside, too.
We should wager right now, because in a month or two, Lion King's coming. Is it going to be better or worse? Is it going to live up?
I think you heard what I said, and you vehemently disagreed with what I said about Jungle Book, but I stand by it, and I think The Lion King will be the same. The Lion King will, at the very least, I won't be bored. It'll be interesting. It might completely miss the point of the original Lion King. It might be way too scary and violent. It might be all kinds of things. I don't know what it's going to be, but whatever it's going to be, it's going to not try and split the difference between, like, it won't have the problem of Friend Like Me not doing its own thing. It will, I predict, really, I don't know, maybe
that's why they cast James Earl Jones, and
you make a fair point.
And why the trailer was beat for beat from
you make a fair
sequences.
point. You make a fair point, but I think Favreau, left to his own devices, would actually do something at least interesting with it. Maybe he'll be shackled by the executives that say we need this to be beat for beat, but I think
you screwed up the Jungle Book. Get this one right.
They're not going to say that, because the Jungle Book made lots of money and it's getting a sequel, and generally I think people liked it better than we did. I mean, that's why they gave him The Lion King, because the Jungle Book was a big success. Actually, I think a lot of people would actually say it's like one of the successes of this whole remake cycle. I certainly wouldn't say that, and you certainly wouldn't say that. But
I think the problem that they're hitting up against is that, and I just don't think they've cracked it, is, are these movies for us or are they for our kids?
I think there's a way to do it, though. That's what
I think there has to be a way.
That's what I was saying earlier. I mean, George Lucas did it. Wizard of Oz did it. All the great Harry Potter does it.
No, but it's more like, if they were doing Aladdin for, like, okay, sorry to just like keep us from wrapping this up. We need to be done. I know, but like, think about the pressure of doing Aladdin. You've got to live up to our nostalgia for it. You've got the pressure of not screwing up all the numbers and all the things that we loved about the original, but maybe making it more adult or whatever for us, but also still a kids movie. There are a lot of ways to try to do too much and end up sucking at everything.
Yeah, there's a million ways to screw it up. I agree. I agree with everything you just said, and at the same time, I want to say zero sympathy for it. I mean,
if the Jungle Book was a success, it was a success not because it appealed to kids, but because it appealed to everybody who loved the Jungle Book as a kid.
I think that's true. Your kids didn't like it. We saw them.
They hated it.
We saw it with them, and they were scared the whole time.
Yeah, and they weren't 5 and 6. They were, I don't know when it came out, but
it would have been a few years ago. Lucy might not have been that much older than 5 or 6, but still. Well, and more people are solving this problem by just making movies for adults, making movies for the generation that grew up with these properties. So Star Wars is much more adult these days. The humor of Marvel is much more adult. That's kind of the standard answer, I would say. Plus, where people are getting more desensitized and lame as far as what they want to just put in a kid's movie. I don't know. I still just think Walt Disney could do it. George Lucas could do it. J.K. Rowling could do it. I realize I'm naming big talents, but you have all the resources of the world. You have millions of dollars at your disposal. You have all the writers. You could literally hire probably like the greatest fantasists, whoever they are. I don't know. You can get anybody to do anything for you, and they can't find a way to write a great screenplay that actually splits the difference and does a good job and has stuff for kids and stuff for adults. I have very little sympathy for that. I have very little sympathy for the richest people in the world with all the greatest talent at their disposal. I don't know why they fail. I mean, I do know why they fail, because there's too many cooks in the kitchen and too much corporate interest and no real moral center or creative vision. So there you go. That's the answer for why they fail.
Pretty
but I mean,
comprehensive answer.
I don't. This is going to sound like bragging or whatever, bravado, but I don't think that we would fail in a similar situation if you gave us all the resources. I mean, I know every nerd wants to remake these things in his basement.
If you gave us all the resources and complete creative freedom, maybe, but all the resources and all the pressures and all of the people saying, just look at what's happened with Star Wars, what's happened with Solo and Rogue One. You know, every time they've had somebody that's creative,
they chew them up and spit them out.
They chew them up and they spit them out. And it's because they're real creative types who have said, hey, no, you really just need to trust us and let us be creative here and do something great. They say, no, you're going to do what we want or you're going to hit the road. And they either do what's wanted,
right,
and we sit here and complain about it, or they go and they make Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I was wondering when that was going to come up, and I was about to bring it up myself because I guess it is possible to work within the system and make a great movie. I guess it does happen. And yeah, okay, the system's broken. That sucks.
Into the Spider-Verse exists because, which one, Solo? Because Solo got canned.
Right. I agree. I mean, I just think, just because the system sucks doesn't mean I accept that the system sucks. I'm angry that the system sucks. The system shouldn't suck.
I agree.
The system should be set up in such a way that creative people can succeed at these things. That if you're going to hire Guy Ritchie, it's because you want him to bring his Guy Ritchie-ness. And if you don't want his Guy Ritchie-ness, then don't hire him.
No,
seriously,
kidding.
There's no reason to get Guy Ritchie to do Aladdin if you're not. I mean,
but there is a reason for Guy Ritchie
to want to do Aladdin.
Absolutely. Do Aladdin.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for the people at Disney to say, okay, you can do our Aladdin under our conditions. I imagine that's how it happened. It wasn't like, hey, I know, let's go get Guy Ritchie. I think it was Guy Ritchie saying, hey, I'd really be interested in this project. And them saying, we can see that under these conditions.
Well, I'm sure he didn't have a lot of freedom to negotiate in the wake of Legend of the Sword. So,
and whatever that dumb East Block, West Block movie was, what was that thing called? The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Yeah.
Which I liked.
Yeah, I actually liked it okay too, but that was another flop. He had two flops in a row.
Yep.
So he has 2 flops in a row. He needs to buy back some credibility. He decides to be a company man. I get it, but it's still too bad.
Yep.
And is him being a company man, is that going to buy him a blank check to go do the creative fun thing he wants to?
Nope.
Ben, would you recommend Guy Ritchie and Walt Disney Company's 2019 Disney classic of Aladdin?
It's not the worst. You'll have a little bit of fun.
Should people go see it?
Maybe. I'm kind of ambivalent about it.
Are you glad that you saw it?
I'm not glad that I saw it. How's that for an answer?
That is
a pretty terrible answer.
It tells the people what they need to know, maybe. Jake, same questions?
I'm glad I saw it. I think it's fine for a nostalgic little date night.
Will you be watching it with the rest of your kids? I'm sure you will, unavoidably, but will you be wanting to watch it with the rest of your kids?
I would be much rather watching it as a date night movie after the kids are in bed with my wife.
I will not be doing that anytime soon. I did not like the movie. My fiance did not care for the movie. My fiance was tempted to cover my eyes at a number of points in the movie, and perhaps that's worth noting. I don't think it was anything too bad. It's rated PG, but hey, you might want to know there's some low-cut things in this movie, some Arabian things like you might expect. They do not really tone down. If you remember Jasmine, here's a good way of putting it.
It's more modest than the cartoons.
Right.
Let's be honest.
But if you remember the cartoons,
but yes,
they don't.
The cartoons are pretty immodest.
They don't entirely run away from that either. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's
very true.
Not a lot of...
And some of the dancing is suggestive.
I mean, I was not like tempted to sin because of this movie, not to put too fine a point on it, so whatever. Just thought you might want to know. Your mileage may vary. And also don't see it because it's terrible and you won't like it. And if you like the original, you won't like it. And if you like modern things that are good, you won't like it. And I just don't know why anybody would see this movie.
Like Prince of Persia, you'll probably like it.
Sanity Movies, produced by Nathan, associate produced by Ben, executive produced like all fine Warhorn products by Jake and Nathan. Until next time, folks,
be yourself.